terms of like a question. It was like how in terms of like I understand. And it made me like upset, and it made me feel like, well, you're wrong. But also it made me feel like I understand.
There's a lot of empathy with that maternal figure in this story.
Yeah.
With her struggle. Wondering how there's you were just talking about your mom, and I'm wondering if there was something in there as well, like thinking about your mom's experience being a mom.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like she's probably going through her own sort of like dilemma of like, how do I show up as a good mother in this situation, it given all of its complexity, right? Because like she is a character in this narrative, and like from my point of view, she's not doing a good job. So like she can have her own point of view, which, you know, has been made clear from everyone. And I feel like depending on like where you are in the story, it can be really easy to say like, I'm on this side or I'm on that. I agree with this person. I don't agree with this. You know, it's like to take a side almost, as if there's a side to take. But stories, that's another thing that I feel like I was really able to like unpack this weekend. Like there's not one narrative. There's just every single person is an individual. Even if you are a part of a larger group, race, social class, country, all that shit, like everyone has their own narrative. Like, and I feel like I heard this, I can't recall where exactly I heard it, but it was basically saying like, oh, actually it was a YouTuber, Kai Foster, she said it. She was like, you are the main character in your own life, and you are like a supporting role in everyone else's life. And like it is really important to like realize that, because like you're not a main character in someone else's life. You're just not. Like you can be a supporting character in someone else's life, but like it's their life, like it's their story. Like you, even if like they are inviting you in to participate in the story, like you have your own narrative and your own experiences and like your own biases really like within that, and like that's real, for real. Like you are only the main character in your own story, your own life, and that's important.
Just sitting with that, it's a really profound statement. Is it implications, you know? Well, I'm wondering how the implications contribute to what you were just saying around motherhood, around your experience, your mom's experience.
Yeah, you know, it just really makes me like think she's processing all this stuff some sort of way. Like I haven't talked to her in quite a while, and I haven't talked to her about it. So like I'm at this point not really sure what way that is, but I'm sure all of this is like not the easiest for her, because it's not the easiest for me, right? Like, so in some way, you know, like her narrative is like difficult too. And it's like I can only live out my life.
Right, at the end of the day, you're living through your narrative. Oh, I don't know if are you still there? Can you see me?
Yeah, I am. You kind of like froze up for a second and then you came back.
Okay. You look like and sound like you're back. Okay, good. Just checking here. Yeah. Right, I was just saying that it sounds like, you know, the take home there was that you're both main characters in your own narratives. Therefore, you both see the world through your own vantage point, and it sounds like you're really thinking about, you know, what it's been like to you from your vantage point, but also recognizing the complexity of others' vantage points. And you know, you talked about the sorrow you felt opening that package, and it just struck me as like the sorrow of that reconciliation process of our own perspective, but also having to make room for the other characters as well. And how difficult that is.
Right, yeah. Especially when you're, like, competing for, like, I do feel like there's enough empathy to sort of go around, but there is sort of like a narrative, like there can only be one person suffering, at a time. Like, for instance, when I was struggling with trying to get through my hearing, and then something happened with my mom, and then she, like, made the whole thing about her, and it's like, this was never, but you, like, inserted yourself, and this just wasn't about you. She's like literally living out her own narrative, but then here she comes, like, popping into my life, like, wait, hold the fuck up, like, this isn't about you. Like, I was going through one of the hardest moments, right? And, like, here you go, like, just hopping in as though you have, like, you're not helping, like, you're not showing up saying, like, what's going on in your story, like, let me, like, understand and then play my supporting role. It's like you're, like, hopping into, like, lead character positions, like, time out, like, this is not, you don't even know what's happening, like, maybe figure out what's happening, otherwise just, stay over there.
Sounds like there are times where she hasn't inserted herself in ways that felt maybe kind of intrusive or controlling, that there wasn't that initial curiosity about your narrative and how to integrate that with what she was seeing.
Right. And then there's also, like, if I am eating an orange, but you believe it's a banana, you might act as though, like, I'm eating a banana, but in reality, I am eating an orange and you are eating a nothing, right? You just had some opinion that I was eating an orange, and now you started behaving as though I'm eating an orange. But what does that actually have to do with me over here eating my fucking banana, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, just because you experience me doing something, like, I'm actually doing it, like, so, and that is one thing I see happening with my mom quite a lot. It's like, I'm over here actually doing something, like, in my life, right? Something so it's like, yeah, there's other people who are part of this thing that I'm doing. It's probably some system in some way that I'm, like, interacting with. Like, she's not a part of the narrative. Like, she's not, like, eating the apple with me and then it's like we're together. Like, no, it's like me over here eating an apple and then she's on the sidelines kind of like, oh, I see her eating a banana, and it's like, that is not what's happening. It's like, it's just she has this understanding from her own worldview of, like, it's like, I don't know what to say to that. Like,
is there an example that's readily coming to mind of this phenomenon? Like, can you think of a time where the banana was something that she thought was an apple, or?
Yeah, so, like, if I'm thinking about when I shaved my head, right? Like, that whole day, I'm going through something. I'm literally going through something with Ariel. It's like me and Ariel talking it out. Like, we're, like, trying to figure out what's going on. Like, I literally, like, carry her home, sleep from school. I had to, like, put her in the tub. It was just all this shit, right? I'm, like, literally going through this thing with Ariel. And here she comes, and all she sees is me shaving my head, and her interpretation is she's off the wall, she's nuts. And it's just like, this has nothing to do with you. Like, you are not a part of this at all. You just, like, literally inserted yourself. Like, 7 other things have, like, happened, and there's context here. There's always context. But if you fail to, like, understand the context, you could just create a narrative out of anything. Like, you could just say anything. Like,
yeah, she seemed very concerned, overly concerned about what was happening in that situation.
But she didn't take the time to actually figure out what was happening in that situation. She just, like, literally, it was like, look, conclusion.
And her conclusion was, my daughter's shaving her head. That's alarming to me. I'm going to now
call Call the
involved.
cops.
Call the police. Yeah. Yeah. That's really, I mean, I can appreciate from my perspective hearing this story, you know, it's hard for me to even see where she was coming from.
I don't know. And that's just one instance. There's like many more instances that are just like that. It's just like, if you were to be like, if you were like turned around, right? And then you were putting, like, you had your jacket almost on your shoulder, and then you were like in the process of zipping it up. But you know how like sometimes if someone only sees the back of that, it might actually look like you have on a dress or something, or it could look like something else is happening, because like they can't see that the whole front of you is like an unzipped jacket that you're in the process of zipping up. So it might look like an off the shoulder dress, or maybe a shawl or something else might be happening. Now, if the person never takes the time to maybe like watch for a few seconds or a minute to see you like turn around with the fully put on jacket, and then, you know, and then you keep going, it's like, if they only catch 1 second of like the back of you trying to zip up the jacket, it's like they're gonna get a skewed interpretation, most likely, right? Mm-hmm. And like, to me, that makes sense. To her, I really think there's something in this, like, the lack of critical thinking skills. That's the best way that I can put it. It's like, some people, they do not know how to think critically, like, at all. Like, so it's just like, you know, what is water to a fish, sort of thing, like.
So it's a deficit in being able to put the pieces together in a meaningful way, that in those moments it's a snap judgment rather than taking into consideration the larger context.
Right.
Yeah. I'm sure you're close. I imagine that some of your closest friends, thinking like Camille and others, have they heard this story?
The hair story?
Yeah. Has anyone heard this story?
Actually, I think I only shared it with Jess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just curious what other people might say about it, because it is striking. Like, it is alarming. That would happen, that, you know, that someone would jump to such a strong conclusion, like calling the police. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think there's a lot of okay, I don't know if you've seen this, but monkeys can use cell phones, right? Like, because I guess there's been enough monkeys who've just been around cell phones that now monkeys can use cell phones. But just imagine if you were like a Neanderthal and then you've never seen a cell phone, and then you just saw a monkey using a cell phone. You'd be like, this is crazy. What the fuck? Like, oh my God. You'd probably be like freaking out. You'd have so many questions. It is like literally crazy, right? But like, I'm telling you that now, and you're not like losing your shit. You're not like calling the cops or like, you know, screaming, or you're kind of like taking it and be like, yeah, this is probably something that could happen. Like, you know, because you have enough context about the world where you're like, yeah, okay, but just imagine if you were a Neanderthal. I kind of feel like that's my mom. It's just like, and I almost feel like that's society toward Black women in so many spaces. It's like, oh my God, they can talk. Oh my God, they walk. Oh my God, they eat at restaurants. Like, I don't know. Like, oh my God, they wear shoes or something. Like, I don't know. It's like, yes. Wow.
Wow. Yes, the reason I was curious about that is, one, I mean, I know you told this story the other day, and it stuck with me, you know. It's just unusual. I like you, I'm sitting here going, wow, that's an interesting conclusion to make, that the police are necessary for a haircut. You know, some vital piece of information must have been missing in your mom's eyes to you know what I mean, to make such a jump. And also the larger context of what you shared in that story around Ariel and Alvin, and the the notion that abuse was going on, and that was not the salient feature of that. That wasn't the thing that was taken most seriously. Just stuck with me.
Yeah, it sticks with me too. And the thing that really like makes me upset, and it makes me really want to distance myself from my family. I have told that story to many members of my family, and none of them feel that way. They're like, even my mom, after I've explained to her what happened, no part of it was like, oh my God, I messed up. I can't, like, how can we make sure Ariel's okay? Like, none of it was that. It was like, well, that's how I felt. I would have done it again. And it's just like, what the fuck? Like, I don't think you're useful. I think that there's so much growth that needs to happen in terms of you as just a person who has like empathy, and especially even a person who should be around really children, because like children can't advocate for themselves, and you clearly can't advocate for children either. So like, I don't want you around my child. That's how I felt. And it was just like, I felt the same way for my brother when he didn't even care to hear the story at all. He was just like, well, I mean, you're so far from being, you should just really stay over there. Like, all of you should just really stay where the fuck you're at, because like clearly like some real shit is happening over here, and all the ways that you've inserted yourself have just made it worse. It's like Ariel finally has the courage to like come to me and tell me what's happening, and your solution is not to figure out why the fuck she's like literally deprived of sleep and has these awful scratches on her legs. Your solution is to call the cops on me for cutting my hair. Fuck you. Like, really? Fuck you. Fuck you and your whole life. Like, I just, like...
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like, I feel like I don't think there is a conversation to be had until that one gets kind of like resolved, until we're on the same page there. It's like some people feel that strongly about politics, it's just kind of like some people really believe like Donald Trump is a racist, and like, so if you follow Donald Trump, there's just no possible way I could like you as a person. Like, some people feel like that strongly. Like, for that particular issue, I don't feel that way. But for this issue with like the hair and the daughter, that's like a hill I'm willing to die on. Like, that one is kind of like, there's not another way. There's just not, like, the way that you handled it was just not cool. It was just not acceptable. Like, and I don't see in what worlds it is or would be. Like, no.
That point needs to be reconciled, needs to be dealt with, there needs to be more validation and curiosity about your experience, and acknowledgement that was not what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're entitled to that. I mean, as you say, we all have our own narratives and our subjective experiences, our lived experiences, and I think it's just so crucial to, where possible, to open up our minds to take that in, even when it might. It might contradict our own realities sometimes, or our own thoughts, or whatever. But in this case, it's not even about politics. Or that's an interesting connection that you made there. Are one thing, but these are your personal experiences,
right? Like, I mean, I've heard people talk that strongly about politics. Like, people really feel that way about politics. So how is it surprising I feel that way about my daughter?
Sure. Of course, politics are personal. I don't need to blur that distinction. It's just... No,
I think I agree with what you're saying and the sentiment that you're coming from. Like, I think we're on the same page here. I think the part that, like, is just surprising to me is that, like, in my mom's eyes, like, it is, like, what, it's shocking. Like, it's hard for her to understand that.
I wonder how long she can hold that position, if she will hold that position.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care. Like, I don't know. Like, I really think that she and my brother sent me a message for my birthday, and I didn't even respond. And I had to get, like, a new phone because my mom's ending the family plan, and, like, I don't really have any intent on giving either of them my phone number. I don't know if I talked to you about this before, but I actually changed, like, after all that stuff happened with Ariel, I changed my phone number, and I didn't give it to my mom or my brother. And they didn't even notice that I had a whole new line for, like, 2 months. They didn't even notice.
Mm-hmm. That you were calling from a different number.
No, I wasn't calling them.
Oh, there was no contact during that time.
No, I think they were sending messages and calling, but I just, like, I wasn't answering, and they just never brought it up to my, like, I would see them, but I was, like, I was intentionally trying not to communicate with them, so it would be, like, and I would just walk past and just keep going with my day or whatever. My brother wasn't, like, living with us at that time, but he would come over, and I would just be, like, and then I would, like, quickly leave. So this went on for 2 months, and they, like, literally, they didn't even know what happened until explicitly one day they were talking about something that happened in the group chat, and I was like, that's not my number. That's why I haven't been getting your messages. And they were both, like, shocked. They were just like, oh. But it had gone on for 2 months. And that's when I was living with my mom, and she still didn't figure out that, like, she does not have my current phone number.
I hear that. This theme of, it sounds like feeling like you're really in your own narrative, your own vantage point, and that she's not checking in about how you're receiving her or not receiving her. In this case, messages, but it could be something else, that there's a real lack of curiosity about what you're taking in.
Or really just like I said, we're living in different worlds, because, like, in her reality, if she is not, like, pulled into the conversation and she doesn't see physical people in front of her, there's no people. Like, I literally, like, she was so confused when I got an apartment. Like, she was like, I guess she thought I was just, like, gonna be, like, transient homeless forever or something. I'm not sure what the deal was, but, like, literally from the time that the last day that I lived in her house and the first day I lived in my apartment, nothing in my life changed in terms of, like, job, income, access to food or people, the friends everything was exactly the same. And she was just really confused about how, like, oh, you've had enough resources this whole time to, like, live on your own? Yes, bitch! Like, I've been living a whole life! Like, this isn't new! Like, the whole time! Like, this is, like, really not new. But to her, and my brother too, really, they were just like, it's like, I literally live in the same house as you and you have no fucking idea. It's crazy.
Hear that. Yeah. Yeah, it brings up a lot of feelings, I'm noticing through the hour. There's, like, the sadness that comes over you when you realize that you are, for a moment maybe, in the same space. Like, when she is acknowledging that you matter, that you're important to her, that she's thinking of you and considering you maybe. But that there are also these moments where it's clear that that doesn't comport with your reality. You don't feel seen, you don't feel validated. And so it's easier to be really angry and feel frustrated and throw up your hands. Regardless, of what is coming up in any particular moment, I hear you saying, I don't really care, but it sounds like this is meaningful. It's a meaningful relationship. You only have one mom, and so I really I appreciate you earnestly bringing in your thoughts and feelings about this, because I think regardless of whether you decide to talk to her or not, she's a part of you. She's a part of your life, whether she's there or in the background. And I appreciate you bringing this in.